cat. Everybody
Good evening and welcome to Posse Presents. Tonight, before I get started, I just want to give a special birthday shout out to a dear friend and mentor and supporter and all kinds of things to the animal community and rescue world. Mark Poveromo of Thomaston Feed's birthday is today. Mark, happy birthday and thank you for being you and for all you do. I always say how much I love the guy, and I do, for no other reason than he is who he is. And, I always say that I owe Kelly's quality of last month's and the extension of her life to him and his knowledge, and that's something that you can never, ever take away. Mark's been a guest on the show before, and it occurs to me that it's been a while since he's been on, so we're going to have to do something about that. Anyway, happy birthday, Mark. Hope you had a great day. And, the community does love you. Anyway, I'm going to start with a little issue that I've got tonight about people dumping dogs. I mean, they're popping up everywhere in horrible condition or just like so carelessly discarded like garbage. And it's infuriating. You know, these poor animals rely on us. Their lives depend on us. We commit, or we're supposed to be committed, to taking care of them when we take them in. And yeah, sometimes I've said it before, things change. Your situation is not able to provide for them, but you can't just decide that, okay, I'm gonna throw the dog out, or I'm gonna like leave it in the yard to starve, or I'm gonna just for kicks do something unspeakable. It's just there are so many better ways to provide for an animal that you feel you can no longer care for. I can't imagine looking at any one of my animals and saying, you know what, I don't want you anymore. I'm going to do something, awful to you. I can't imagine not caring about what happens to an animal. It's just incomprehensible to me. And the sad part is the people who are committing these horrible acts against these animals aren't the people watching the show, clearly. But, if you cannot provide for an animal, bring it to a shelter. Get it to safety. Don't do the things you're doing. I mean, if you're on Facebook and you see some of these awful things, there was a pit bull that, I forget where it even popped up, but starved. They named it Peanut, and it went into rescue, and the poor little guy is in foster care now, and he's getting attention, and for him to have gone through that, it's just incredible. I saw tonight before I was getting ready to go out this afternoon, actually, a dog that found its way into Bridgeport Animal Control. Let's see Carlos, Zach. This poor guy is estimated to be about 8 years old. He was left in the freezing cold inside of a suitcase by a dumpster. What was supposed to happen to him? I mean, really, how do you do that? You throw a dog in a suitcase and leave him by a dumpster. Thank God he wasn't thrown in the dumpster, because that would have been a wrap. But this dog was found by a homeless man and clearly brought to animal control, and he went to the vet and he's had some medical attention. And actually the last thing I read was that it seems like he went into a rescue, but he's obviously still going to need a home. But what are you thinking when you do something like that? Couldn't you have just brought him to the shelter? Yeah, I mean, I can see where, sure, your tail is between your legs because you're bailing on an animal and you don't want to have to deal with maybe somebody's attitude because you're dumping a dog, or maybe you're afraid that there's going to be a sign-over fee and you can't pay that because you can't take care of the dog. I understand there's 1,000 different circumstances, but to leave a dog in a suitcase it keeps going through my head. What was supposed to happen to that dog if he wasn't found? What if somebody came along and just tossed it into the dumpster? That would have been a wrap too for that poor little guy. You know, fortunately the right person came along at the right time and the dog is safe, but what are people thinking? I don't understand. But anyway, I hear he's a sweet and cuddly boy, and I certainly, you know, I'm glad if he did in fact, according to the posts, he went to a rescue. You know, all the better for him. He doesn't deserve to be in the pound. No dog deserves to be in a pound. You guys, you have to understand, the pounds do the best they can, and there's some better than others, but it's not like a hotel. It's not home. You see that cinder block? That's what they're living in, little cinder block cells with concrete floors, and it's, you know, probably cold and drafty, some more than others. Some get outside time, some don't. Some ACOs care more than others. Some get more interaction with people than others, but it's still not being home. So by no means should you believe or be under the assumption that a pound is like a good place to be. It's better than the streets, and it's better than a suitcase in the cold, and it's better than a dumpster, and it's better than starving in someone's backyard or running the streets and running the risk of any kind of danger happening to it. But really, they don't belong there. Anyway, we've got another dog in Bridgeport that I'd like to show you, Ida, who is a senior with some special needs. She's blind in one eye, and she has a thyroid condition for which she will be on medication for the rest of her life. She's clearly a very trusting dog to be allowing herself to be held up like that, so she's got to have a great personality. She seems like a sweetie, just the look on her face, you know. I mean, she's another one who is probably a senior, and a disabled senior is probably very lost in a pound environment. And in Bridgeport, it is the biggest facility in the state, so it's got to be pretty overwhelming. And I've personally never been there, but I can only imagine. While we keep her up, I'm just going to mention there's another dog who I only thought I downloaded the picture for, Jackson, who is a 7-year-old Akita Shepherd mix who needs a strong leader. His family bailed on him because they had a baby. You know, small wonder with that. I again don't imagine what people are thinking when they just, you know, how do you pick and choose? Like, okay, so I'm going to have the baby and I'm going to get rid of the dog. And I hate that term, get rid of, but that's what people do. Like they're garbage, like they're disposable. And apparently, according to the posts, poor Jackson really never had much discipline or training. So at 7 years old, he's very strong-minded and dominant and needs a strong leader. Anyway, the next dog from Bridgeport we're going to show is Benji. And he is a Shih Tzu, and he looks like he needs a good grooming, the poor guy, but he's got a lot of issues himself. Now, I love Shih Tzus. I had a Shih Tzu from the time I was 15, and he lived 17 years, which is a pretty good run. When I lost him in 1995, I'd had him more than half of my life, and I just aged myself. But anyway, he looked a lot like that. He reminds me of my Kimba. My Kimba was a pretty cool dog right up to his final days when he was old and senile and out of his mind. But poor Benji's owner died, and the family didn't care. And that's another situation where it just boggles my mind that, you know, there's nobody in a family. This happens. There's another dog that went into rescue today. He was fortunate enough to get pulled into a rescue. You know, the owner died. The dog's like 16. What's supposed to happen? The family doesn't care. They're like, you know, oh, well, you know, we don't find a place for him to go in 32 seconds. We're going to put him down. It's just so heartless. I mean, how is that respecting the family member who loved that animal and cared for that animal? How is that paying tribute to the life of a family member that you just lost to take something that person loved and just throw it away like garbage? I don't get it. Clearly I'm on a roll tonight because this stuff infuriates me. But anyway, Benji is a good dog. He's a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. He's came in with some issues. He had an infection in his scrotum, and so he was subsequently neutered, and that has taken care of that issue. He is also blind in one eye, and he has skin issues which are being treated. So, you know, maybe he's been shaved down, who knows. I love the puppy cut. You know, Shih Tzus are a long-haired kind of nightmare, and I always had the puppy cut on Kimba. As a matter of fact, I used to take the scissors and do it myself, and he would let me, so that was even better. I'm not going to try and tell you it was even, but his hair was wavy enough to forgive my errors and my lack of grooming experience, but it is what it is. So that's Benji, and we'll take the camera back for the moment. If you are interested in any of the dogs in Bridgeport, and believe me, there are a lot of them, and they do need homes. There's cats too, from what I saw tonight on their page. 203-576-7727 is the number in Bridgeport. That's 203-576-7727. And their website, I'm purposely riffling through my notes. Their website is bptanimalcontrol.com for Bridgeport Animal Control. So that's bptanimalcontrol.com. And they're also on Facebook as Bridgeport Animal Control. It's a like page, so you can just go on there, and all of their dogs are listed, including poor Jackson, who, like I said, I only thought I loaded the picture. Unfortunately, as I was explaining to Zach, as I'm telling him, no, it's on there, the picture's on the card. No, it wasn't. I find the dog and I start writing the information, and if I don't click download, then, well, guess what? I don't have it with me when I get here. I'm human. It happens. Anyway, the animal control officer in Bridgeport is pretty fabulous, Jimmy Gonzalez, and I had the good fortune to meet him briefly a few weeks ago, and he is every bit as sweet in person as you can imagine, and he really cares, and that's just so important when you've got all these animals that depend on somebody. You know, he's a one-man operation. Unfortunately, the biggest facility in the state has one animal control officer, and he has promised me that when he can take off his superhero cape and put aside his duties for a hot second, he will come to. What is Zach doing in the control room? He is trying to make me laugh, and it's working. What a distraction. Anyway, when Jimmy can take off his superhero cape and put aside his superhero outfit, he will come on the show, and I look forward to having a discussion with him because he seems like a pretty cool guy. And like I said, in the few minutes that I met him, I was able to actually get like those good vibes, and I think he is a good guy. So that's something to look forward to. Anyway, do check out the Bridgeport Facebook page, the website. If you need any more information, you didn't catch all that. The show is on YouTube, or you can email me at pawprints713@aol.com, and I will give you the information that you seek. Back to the stories of, you know, animals getting unceremoniously put in harm's way. If you remember, earlier this year, somewhere in upstate New York, there were 3 puppies that were dumped by railroad tracks. And that was not a very nice situation. They were very sick, and one of them did not live. And it appeared that somebody tried to nail one of the puppies to the railroad track. Subsequently, that poor dog lost its paw and got a prosthetic paw in rescue. They were saved, obviously. They spent some time in the shelter being rehabbed, being evaluated. You know, I can't imagine what would make you try to nail a dog to a railroad track. You know, again, 3 puppies. You could have brought them to a shelter. You could have done anything. No, you had to be cruel. And it's just beyond me that people could be like that. But in any case, I got word, it was like, there was all kinds of breaking news this week that these dogs were finally ready to go home. They'd gone through adoption processes, and the new owners were actually picked. And I got word earlier in the week through my friend Kristen Stochi that adopted January. If you remember January, who was one of my birthday dogs. He is now Leo and living happily ever after. She contacted me and let me know that a friend of hers actually was chosen to adopt one of the 2 surviving puppies. They were subsequently named Hudson and Pearl, which are 2 very good New York type names. I guess they were named for the streets that the tracks were near. And her friend was adopting Hudson, who was the puppy who had lost his paw. Now, again, as I said, he was fit with a prosthetic, and the gentleman who adopted Hudson, and let me just backtrack for a hot second. The process was not just an application, but like a 300-word essay as to why yours would be the best home for the puppy that you would or wouldn't get. And I guess one of the things that Hudson's new family has planned for him is to be a service dog or a therapy dog. And I think that's like really, really awesome, because with a prosthetic paw, you are definitely like a role model for a lot of situations, and I think that's really cool. So Rich Nash is the gentleman who is now the proud papa to Hudson, and I actually have been in touch with him. And we've got some little plans. I mean, upstate New York's a little far away to actually get him in here, but I kind of have thoughts of maybe trying to do a phone interview or something like that. He's more than willing to come on the show in some way or another, which would be really cool. And we've got a picture today. Hudson and his new brother Sammy went to see Santa. And there you go, the little white face there is Hudson. And we don't have, I just wanted to do the happy picture. We'll save all the pictures of him along his way for when we do actually cover Rich and whatever we're going to do with that. But what a happy picture. I mean, from a dog that was unceremoniously dumped by, railroad tracks and tortured and whatever you want to call it. I mean, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine you'd try to nail a dog to a railroad track. But anyway, he's got certainly a happily ever after, and thanks to Rich and his wife and Sammy, and I think his wife's name is Rosemary, I don't want to be wrong, just going on Facebook pages and getting acquainted. But if you look at that, that's just like a happy picture, and that's the way all dogs should end up, is having like a happily ever after. And again, thank you, Rich, and I do look forward to covering your story for my viewers very soon. Anyway, congratulations, and it's a beautiful thing, and thanks to Kristen for connecting me, because I think it's a really cool thing. Very quickly, I'd like to put up a little poster that is a reminder. This is holiday season, and there are things that you really should be doing to keep your animals safe. I kind of covered this for Thanksgiving. You want to make sure they don't get into the stuff around your house, and this is some of the stuff that is going to be around for the holidays. Keep your dogs away from anything that would be harmful to them. Onions, garlic, and chives, which isn't stuffing, caffeinated drinks, dark chocolate if you're baking, raisins and grapes, which would be in mince pies, peaches and plums and persimmons if you're going to have a turkey or anything like that. The bones are off limits. Keep them away from milk and sweets and certain kinds of nuts. And people don't realize that the sugar-free stuff in gum and toothpaste and some diabetic foods is harmful to dogs. So, while it's never a good idea to give your dog any kind of chewing gum, you certainly don't want to do it in the sugar-free variety. I got Speedo over here laughing. People do the dumbest things. Yeah, you know. And on that is not just for holidays, but antifreeze any time of year is deathly horrible for animals. I mean, it causes a slow, painful, neurological, traumatic death to animals, and even a tiny bit can poison them. And so you really want to be careful if you're adding it, not to spill it. If you're changing it, dispose of it carefully. Additionally, for the holidays, you may have poinsettias or something, you know, holly and the berries, mistletoe. That's all poisonous to your pets. So you want to be super careful not to let your animals get into that stuff. You know, they look wonderful, but it's not a good thing for your animals. I will take the camera back, and moving right along, you also probably want to keep your animals away from the Christmas tree too, because the ornaments can be such a temptation. You know, I haven't put up a Christmas tree in a long time, but you know, I would do it in a separate room so that other than the cat, who I think at the time I didn't even have catnip. I think I had Elwood, and he was never an issue. But, you know, it's all shiny and pretty and things that they think they can play with. And it's not cool. Garland, you know, the string garland, very bad for cats. String and yarn and all that. You know, if a cat or even a dog swallows it and doesn't, it can get tangled up in their intestines. And that seriously can kill them. And, you know, then you're talking an operation and trying to get stuff out of their stomachs. And it's really, use your head. Use your head, and don't use anything in your house that can harm your animals. And if you do, keep them away from it, and guarantee yourself. Don't set yourself up to fail. Know what your pets are capable of, and plan accordingly for the holidays. I'd like to make a little offer here. If you have Christmas pictures of your pets and you would like to see them on the air, you can send them to me and I will show them. The last show before Christmas is the 22nd, so depending on what kind of response we get, I will air them on the 22nd. If there's a lot, maybe I'll break it up and do it next weekend and the 22nd as well. But you can post your pictures on my Facebook page, Posse Presents, with just a little note. Please post my picture on your show. I welcome, you know, a little background story. If your dog or cat or whatever you've got is a rescue and you want me to tell their story briefly, I will. You know, it doesn't have to be a dog or a cat. It can be whatever you've got. I'd love to see my friend Amanda put like a Santa hat on her African Gray, because I think that would be hilarious. You know, African Grays have one heck of an attitude. I'd like to see her try. But anyway, you can put them on my, as I said, my Facebook page, Posse Presents. You can email them to me with a story and a note, pawprints713@aol.com. That's pawprints713@aol.com, and I will get whatever you send me up there. It can be their pictures with Santa. It can be, you know, if you take a holiday picture of your family with your pets, that's great too. But, you know, anything that you think would be cool, I will duly take care of it for you. Anyway, speaking of cool, Pet Playhouse is having pictures with Santa tomorrow, and a toy for your pet while supplies last. And that will be between 12 and 3. They are in Southington, and you can either look them up on Facebook or you can check out my Posse Presents Facebook page. I will make sure that that event is posted, and you can check that out. Like I said, they're in Southington, and that's between 12 and 3 tomorrow. And yes, I'm going to try to get there. I've been really bad about getting to events since the summer, but, you know, my life has been something else. Anyway, another Customer Appreciation Day to talk about next Saturday, the 15th, at Thomaston Feed between 10 and 4. We will also be working pictures with Santa, and I kind of have my hand in that one. thanks to my friend Katie Cusack, who's been a guest here on the show. We're trying to put that together, and it promises to be a fun day. And again, that's the same gentleman who is celebrating his birthday today, Mark from Thomaston Feed. Happy birthday again. Yes, I will be at that event and hope to see as many of you as can come, because that would be great. Everybody in the immediate circle of pet foods and stores and suppliers like that, they're all a bunch of great people who really do care about the animal community, and, you know, separate and apart from their appreciation days and, you know, their support of rescues and all that, I have to say I'm very proud, you know, to call them all my friends. You know, Heather and Howard at the Cheshire Cat and Dog 2 do so much, and Debbie does so much at Pet Playhouse, and Mark at Thomaston Feed. You guys are all great, and the rescue community certainly would not be the same without your support, and we do appreciate that. Anyway, don't forget to send me your pet pictures, and like I said, I will have them up. It's Christmas time, and, you know, tonight's the first night of Hanukkah, so I'd like to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah who will be celebrating that. You know, send me your Hanukkah pictures too if you have pictures of, there was quite a few of them on Facebook with, you know, the animals decked out for Hanukkah. So I'll do that too, no problem. It'll be a little late, but we can do that. pawprints713@aol.com. And, you know, anytime you might have a picture of an animal that you've rescued, send it along. I'll post it and I'll talk about them. If you've got an animal that you've taken into a foster, I have no problem, you know, giving them a little promo and seeing if we can't help you get them a home. I have to say kudos to my friend Lewis, who has pulled another dog from the pound, and he's going to do a great job with him, I know. And I'll have more on that next time. Anyway, until we see you again, peace, love, and dogs. Good night, everybody. Say good night.